Senior year is here, baby. That's when you rule the roost. And even if you're not interested in the politics of high school, it still feels good to be a senior, baby. You know, you feel virtually untouchable. In my case, there was literally no way I could fail, you know? And I was fucking riding high, baby.
Give me some sugar, baby.
I had gotten a job the previous year. You know, I was being asked to stay late. You know, the managers were like, that's my boy. That's the one I can depend on. That's it. So I was fucking tired the whole goddamn year, man. And I decided that my first period was just going to be sleeping class. And I mad failed the shit out of that, man. So, a couple interesting side notes about this. You know that if you were good in school, you were a nerd or a geek or whatever, even thinking about failing is like cataclysmic level event, you know. But I didn't give a shit at this point. I realized that I could basically fail everything and I'd be pretty much fine. Note number 2. The teacher that led this class was on a downward spiral of epic proportions. He would show up clearly having been smoked out, you know, red eyes, stinking up the joint like skunk weed. He was very loosey-goosey with the whole teaching thing. You know, awful educator as far as letting you know what was up. And it was bad. He was just a very absent-minded educator. Clearly he had things going on. But the real bad part of it was that he would sometimes not show up at all. Sometimes we would find him sleeping in the chemical room because he was, one of the science teachers. And he would just be on the fucking floor, knocked the hell out. I don't know if he was drunk or high. I don't know what the fuck was going on, but he was knocked out, and he'd be like, you guys just take a day off, and he'd just go right back to sleep. So I was like, why can't I sleep, guy? Then, this is where it really fell apart for the old guy. He was a mad perv, you know what I'm saying? And I'm talking like, not with the fucking students, you know what I'm saying? Like, not with, his fellow colleagues. No. He was looking at the young chicks, you know what I'm saying? So they'd have these dissection tables, and his dissection table was at the front of the class, and it had a big-ass mirror on top, you know, so that he could reflect anything that he was doing at that table towards the class. Well, he would move that dissection table at such an angle that he could see down the girls' dresses, you know, and the girls noticed, of course, and, you know, me and this other dude kind of like, I guess, try to confront him in a way while trying to be subtle about it. And I mean, it was evident that the guy was doing it because he got real nervous and real fidgety, and, you know. So anyway, whatever. The dude was weird, right? Well, then one day he just up and grabbed some chick's ass, man. I guess he was like, that's it, guy. I don't even give a shit. He grabbed some chick's ass. Next thing you know, the guy's not showing up. We're getting a bunch of substitutes. And, of course, you know, the teachers are trying to keep it on the down low, but everybody fucking found out right away, right? And then he would show up to school, I guess, wanting to barge back in on his job, and he'd be out there in the parking lot basically hotboxing, you know, and it was a fucking disaster. The dude eventually ended up getting fired and shit. So, all this downtime from him and then all the substitutes, I mean, it just made it easier for me to fucking snooze, guy. As aforementioned, couldn't fail. All it did was knock me down a few pegs. I went from number 2 to number 5 in my class, and whatever. I didn't give a shit, to be honest with you. I was like, I'm fucking cool, baby. Confidence was at an all-time high. I was, I felt fucking cool, guy. You know what I'm saying? January, this girl I had obsessed over, that in a lot of ways I had kind of shafted a lot of potential relationships and ended a lot of other ones along the way because I was always like, this girl, though, it's gonna happen, baby. Okay, well, I still wanted her. You know what I'm saying? So the year starts, right? And this year, Michael, who I mentioned in the previous video, he was a grade ahead of me. So he was already in college. And at the beginning of the year, he's like, hey, man, I'm going to be in college. I want you, when prom comes along, to take my girl to prom. Now I know what you're thinking. Classic situation. But I was like, I got you, homie. And I know what you're also thinking. this boy backstabbed this boy because his boy backstabbed him in a way? Nah, homie. It just kind of fucking happened, okay? But we'll get there. Okay. The January situation, I still wanted her, baby. The previous year, I had given her this fucking necklace and this little ring. She didn't so much dig the ring, but the necklace, she always wore that boy. But at the same time, she was going out with this guy. She ended up going out with another guy pretty steady, and he was cool. And I was like, what the fuck? What am I doing? Well, as it turns out, man, I got tired of it. You know what I'm saying? I said, I'm not doing it, guy. I remember we had gone to this school event. What do they call them, man? Fuck, what do they call them? Yeah, man, I totally forgot that. You know, you go and compete with other schools in certain subjects and shit like that. I forgot what the fuck they're called. Anyway, we went to one of these events, and old January came up to me wearing her little fucking dress and shit, and she sat on my lap, and I was so over that shit already, like, fed up with the teasing and all that shit. And come on, guy, you're wearing my necklace, but you're going out with that guy. You know, what is that, right? And I just moved my little fucking leg away from her, and she fell on her fucking ass, and she was like, what the? You know, reality hit her. What the hell? This guy did something against me? You know? So I kind of just let that, you know, fucking roll like a little snowball and grow, guy. That progressed as the year went along, and as we got closer to kind of like the middle of the year, I also found myself getting more attached to this chick in our group that you know I had been told to take to prom. Basically, I was attracted to her, but I was also like, I'm not that guy, right? But I was attracted to her, you know. And a mutual friend of ours, as in like he was close to her and Michael a lot, but he was also a friend of mine. He began to notice that, and he began to question her and stuff. And she was like, yo, this dude be asking shit. And I was like, well, just tell him we're just friends, man. Which we were. But at the same time, I think we all both understood the like undercurrent that was going on there, right? The friend had begun to notice, you know, there's a little vibe there, you know, what is that? He never questioned me, but he would throw little comments into the conversation sometimes that I was like, this dude's getting the vibe, guy. And of course I knew the vibe was there, but I was kind of like in that state of like, nah, homie, you know? And because, yeah, I mean, I didn't intend to basically fuck over a homeboy. I was just like, nah, homie. But the vibe was there, guy. Anyway, as it turns out, man, this chick, we gotta give her a name. Let me see. Let me look around the room here. Let's call her Ella, okay? Ella, this gothy chick. She, by the way, also a white girl in a largely Mexican town. And she was, you know those goth girls that are kind of like a little hillbilly-esque? Her family was mad hillbilly. So she kind of had some of those tendencies, but she was also, you know, she was more into like the, you know, metal and and alternative and industrial and all that shit, and dress the type, right? So yeah, that kind of girl, you know. So she, in her own way, stood out. This is very apropos because, as it turns out, her stepfather was best friends with January's father, and in a manner of speaking, they hadn't grown up together, her and January, but their fathers had, so they were around each other. And oh, I got that little moth, boy. Oh no, God damn it. Anyway, almost got the moth. Anyway, fucking yeah, they grew up together, man. And Ella had a deep-seated hatred. There's no other way to say it. She was not about January. You know what I'm saying? Now, to be fair, I don't know how January felt 100% about her. Again, January, though, was more tactful, so I think she was holding back. But she definitely didn't love her, shall we say. But I didn't find this out until, you know, I started expressing however subtly, quote unquote, interest in Ella, I found out that this was a thing, and I was like, I found out because I told her, like this whole thing with me in January, it's kind of weird, right? How this back and forth and the weird, like that quote unquote relationship. This is not what it was, but it's weird, right? And she's like, yep, that's her. And then she told me all about this, and I was like, what the? Kind of blew my little gourd, right? So anyway, prom rolls around, like fucking February-ish, around there, somewhere around there. And, I was contacting Michael. I was like, you still want me to take old girl to the prom for you? And he's like, yeah, man, unless you're going to go with January. I'm like, I'm not, homie. So anyway, so we make the little preps, I'm like, hey, he wants me to take you out. She's like, cool. Let's do it, man. And me and her go kind of like this wasn't a date, but double date, quote unquote, with log legs and this chick that he was interested in. And so we go to the prom. Oh, actually, we go to see The Mummy Returns first. Jesus. Man, that stunk. And it's possibly one of the few, if not only, times that I've actively talked during a movie. And it wasn't because I wanted to. It was because there was a fucking girl there. And I was like, well, she's talking, I'm going to talk. And again, the vibe was there. And I don't know. I think subconsciously I wanted something to happen. But anyway, during The Mummy, there is suddenly a leg on my leg. And that leg is wearing a massive boot. And I'm like, oh shit. And dude, that leg was a moving guy. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay. All right. So by the time we get to prom, man, and her being how she was and me being me, we're like, this prom's a stinker, guy. Not about this. But we go in, and she was wearing her big frilly dress. Yeah, you know what? I gotta point this out. I mentioned that this school was largely free of a lot of like bullying and cliques and stuff, but I will say that she did get a lot of flack. That I saw, a lot of people would. And I think it's because she just looked very different. You know what I'm saying? Everybody else pretty much dressed normal for whatever clique or group they were in, like rockers. They didn't look too outlandish or anything like that. Jocks didn't walk around with fucking their entire uniform on or some shit, Wasn't no fucking cartoonish shit like that. But old girl here, Ella, as we're calling her, she definitely stood out, big ass dresses, the makeup, the works, But she had red hair, freckles, stood out. Anyway, so we walk in. Oh God! And I was wearing a kind of like a Hawaiian shirt with blue flame, black Hawaiian style shirt with blue flames coming up. Corny. Oh, and Lestat style sunglasses, guy. Ah, shit. Mad corny. Cringe. Anyway. We walk in and there's like a little booth where you could take pictures with your partner, right? So she's like, hey, you want to take a picture? I'm like, yeah, fuck it. Let's go take a picture, man. So we go in and guess who is running the booth? Yes, that's right. January. Because, like I said, on top of being like the it girl, she was also in a lot of these little organization committees and all that stuff. And she's like, oh, you guys, oh, cool. And she, to her credit, she was very nice. But you could not disguise that kind of like shock, right? So, I'm not going to lie, man. A little part of me was like, fuck yeah, man. That's right. Be shocked. So, whatever. She took the picture. We walked, out there. And, of course, we were too close. We're not going to fucking dance. What is that shit? That's loser shit. Then, man, this is fucking cringe, guy. Then I'm like, hey, I'm going to go outside and fucking little smoke, guy. You want to go with me? And she's like, yeah, sure. So we go out, and I'm out there fucking smoking, God damn it, man. Only times I have ever smoked in my life are hanging out with this friend that I used to have called The Bulb. He's like the guy that I would smoke and drink with because he was fun to smoke and drink with. Other than that, very few times that I've done it outside. But this time I can tell you that I was like, I'm going to look cool, guy. God damn it. Ugh, stinker. Anyway, I'm out there fucking smoking with this broad. And then they inform us that you can't go back in once you've gone out. And I'm like, fuck it. We'll just hang out here, guy. Eventually, Loglegs and his girl come on. They're like, what the fuck? Where'd you guys go? And they're like, we're like, this shit stinks. Let's go eat and then go back home, right? So we go eat, whatever. But then on the ride home, me and Ella are in the back of the vehicle. And we just started fucking kissing, guy. Like hardcore, guy. And, dropped her off. He dropped his chick off. Then he's like, let me go drop you off, dude. So we're riding back, and he's like, so what's that all about? And I was like, what the fuck, dude? I don't know what the fuck to make of it, guy. So I really liked her, man. You know what I'm saying? I really liked her. And for the first time, I felt like maybe this is my chance to shake off the whole January thing, you know? But then there's the homie, though, Michael. So I'm conflicted, man. Next day at school, I come in and I go up to her and I'm like, hey, man, look, I really like you. It's up to you what you want to do. But I just want you to know that this would be cool. And she's like, yeah, I think it would be cool, too. But, I don't want to hurt Michael. I'm like, hey, man, if that's your choice, that's your choice. I'm just telling you, I think this would be cool, guy. Well, lunchtime rolls around and she comes up to me and she's like, I think we should do it. But how are we going to tell Michael? And I said, just leave it to me. Leave it to fucking me, guy. So I fucking send him an email, guy, which is terrible now that I think about it. But I was like, look, man, this thing just happened. Didn't mean to hurt you, all this shit, but it is what it is, boy. And he was not pleased, obviously. Called me up and was like, what the fuck, bitch? He would later show up at my, like over the summer vacation for college there. He would show up at my place and I guess try to confront me, but eventually it kind of dissipated and faded into nothing. I've never recovered that friendship, by the way. I see him on occasion. It's very clear that it still weighs on him. To me, I mean, it didn't happen to me. Maybe that's why. But I'm like, man, I fucking saved you from that broad, because as it turns out, she wasn't that great. But I did last with her for a number of years. But anyway, very jealous person. But anyway, obviously to him, he's like, you took that away from me, whatever. Yeah, so me and her, we're like, I guess we're a thing, guy. And, when you're a thing, you just fucking are out there being your thing, guy. So we're just openly being a couple. And, of course, boom, like lightning, guy. It gets back to January. Not even the first day that we start walking around holding hands, me walking in her class, all that shit. Not even the fucking first day, I say. Not even the first period. I get to my first class that I share with January. She is mad dogging me. Her and her fucking girl. She had like a homie that was always tight with her. Mad dogging me, man. Like the stare mad dogging, Like not like we happened to cross paths of conversation and she mad dogging. No, I'm talking like the class is going on and this chick is staring at me fuming and I'm like, God damn it, boy. All right. Now you're fucking about something? All right. Whatever, man. So I'm not even caring, dude. I'm just like riding on that high. Like, fuck that, man. I finally shook that shit off. I'm going out with this chick. Whatever. Class finishes. And I walk out. I get like, a hallway and a half away from the class when all of a sudden I hear behind me, turn around. And I turn around. I didn't even know. But I realized that fucking old January is behind me, guy. And she just stares fucking holes into my goddamn soul, guy. And I'm like, whoa, dude. And he's like, you really going out? And she's like, you really going out with her? And I'm like, yeah. She rips that fucking necklace that she had worn for over a year around her goddamn neck. And she throws that boy in my fucking face. And I grab that boy before it falls to the ground. And I go, keep it. It's yours I give it to you for a reason. Boom. And I throw it and I walk away. Didn't even see if she picked it up or whatever. Well, turns out that she picked it up, guy. Because I'm at lunch later, I don't know, 2-3 periods later. And we're out there. I'm with old Ella just hanging out there. The group is there. Old girl fucking January storms out from the cafeteria area with her homie, and a couple other homies. She makes a beeline for us, and I'm like, oh shit. She doesn't even fucking look at me. Nathan, guy. She goes up now to Ella, and she throws that shit in her face. Pack! And she walks away, and I'm like, what? Dude, my cool level just went up 1,001, and 2, that felt good. Maybe not for Ella, but definitely because I was like, fuck yeah, man. That's for all those years of that toying. You know what I'm saying? But then, trying to save the day, trying to save Ella the humiliation, I picked that boy off the ground, and I go, you know what? Maybe this was meant for you, and I give it to her. And sure, the class was broken, but that can get fixed. Boom, boom. I ended up staying with Ella for her senior year, and then a year after that. So I guess kind of like 2 years and a half. I think I've mentioned this before in another video, but this is where it concluded, I guess, for lack of better words. So how Ella and I ended. I mentioned that she was a super jealous person. For example, one time we were out. Man, I want to say it was the mall. It had to have been the mall. Anyway, we were out somewhere, and we were... it was the mall. It was the mall, because I remember we went under the escalators. Anyway, we're going under the escalators, crossing kind of like that little court area where we were just kind of sitting around. Kind of looks like a little park area. And there was this group of dudes, and I don't know if it was catcalling or it was kind of pointing out that she was wearing a fucking big-ass dress in the middle of summer. Whatever it was, they were obviously making comments about her. And there was a fuck ton of them. You know what I'm saying? Now, I'm not one to back down, but when you got a whole damn gang of dudes, what am I going to say, guy? What am I going to do? So we walk by, they're saying all this shit, and I'm like, come on, kind of hurry her out of the area. And she says, why didn't you say anything? I'm like, what are you talking about? Why didn't I say anything? Because they would fucking destroy me. There's a million of them. You know what I'm saying? What am I going to do? I said, I got you out of there. That should be enough. And man, she was not happy at that response, guy. So that was like warning sign number 1. Warning sign number 2, her mother, those tough bar broads? That's exactly what her mother was, an old southern tough bar broad. And she was very confident in her self, very tough attitude, but she was also very confident in her sexual appeal, shall we say. And she would do a lot of weird, weird because she was doing it in front of her family as a whole, and me, who's going out with her daughter. Weird little sexual things. So one day I'm hanging out at her house. We're all just chilling there doing hillbilly shit. And fucking, the mom gets up and she's talking to her husband, that is to say, Ella's father. She's talking to him, but it's literally in front of all of us. And she's kind of teasing him by shaking her fucking ass in these incredibly tight pants. And it was like proto twerking, before twerking was a thing, kind of close enough to it, and I was like, what the fuck? I reacted like, what the fuck? Kind of like a bemused look on my face. Didn't say anything. I was like, and old fucking Ella started, giving me the stink eye, basically. And later in the day when we were alone by ourselves, she's like, what the fuck was that with my mom? And I was like, what the fuck was what? Yeah, what was with your mom? That's fucking weird. Her shaking her goddamn ass 1 millimeter away from our faces. That's pretty weird. And she's like, nah, homie. What was that? What were you doing looking at that ass? I was like, look, I have fucking eyes. It's right in front of my fucking face, basically. And she was mad, fucking angry about that guy. And I was like, oh, this is fucking funky, dude. So I got that stank. You know what I'm saying? Other than that, she was pretty cool. We really fucking loved the same movies. And just got along pretty good. Also, there was the sex. That's pretty fun. But, yeah, man, the jealousy thing just popped up every now and then. Let me say that. But anyway, I say all that to say this right here. We're at the mall, and I don't know why, but that day was a little tense, and I can't remember why precisely. Doesn't matter. It was some bullshit that would have blown over anyway, but we were just walking around the mall and whatever, and we come across those little kiosks, and it happens to be manned by this friend of January's that I told you about. What was it? 10th grade story that I should have gone with her because she liked me. It's happened to be manned by her, and I'm like, oh, hey, man, how you doing? Hug. She's a great friend. And she was also friends with Ella. It's just that she was also friends with January, which Ella didn't like, but they liked each other. Oh, hey, everybody's hugging. I'm like, hey, I'll catch up, blah, 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 blah. And then old girl here tells me, hey, January was in town the other day, and she asked about you. And I'm like, oh, yeah, how's she been? I'm willing to put water on the bridge. It's no big thing for me. That was more like, ha, 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 finally got mine, but whatever. I was like, yeah, how's she been? She's like, oh, she just wanted to say that she's sorry for the way she acted, and, that if she hopes everything's okay. I'm like, hell yeah, man, everything's fine with us, You know where that's going to go, right? So we said our goodbyes. Everything seemed fine. We head on over to, again, emblazing in my mind, we go to FYE. I'm looking through the movies, and old girl is just kind of like a ghost, walking around. Ella is. She eventually makes her way over to me, and she's like, I don't want you talking to her. And I'm like, talking to who? And she goes, January, I don't want you talking to her. I'm like, she's not even in town, guy. How the fuck am I going to talk to her? I'm like, I just straight up told her, man, you fucking tripping balls. I didn't tell her like that because that wasn't even a phrase in my vocabulary back then. But I was like, this is crazy, man. You know what I'm saying? I said, you're just like your mom, man. Her mom is a very volatile person in that regard. And I was like, that's nuts, man. I'm with you. She just, was trying to bury the hatchet. And she's like, well, I don't fucking want her apology. I'm like, well, apparently, man. So it just kind of like, it was a little blow up, to be honest with you. Whatever. She's like, let's just go. We go. I'm at my place. She's at her place. We had this thing where we would call each other each night. I call her up. I say, so what's up? And she's like, we got to break up. And I'm like, come on, over this shit. Now, granted, a part of me was like, I'm just done with this. But also, who likes a breakup, right? So it was like, for real over this shit? And she's like, yep. And to be honest with you, that fucked with my head, guy. I was like, what the fuck, guy? I went a little nuts there, like a lot of people do during the little breakups. But yeah, man, she was just like, that's it. And that's literally how it ended. Now, I've seen Ella since then, and we're on friendly terms. I mean, obviously, we don't, fucks around or anything like that. I don't mean that in the fucking sense. I mean, like, we don't hang out or anything like that. But if I ever see her, I'm like, hey, man, what's up? No hard feelings at all. At least not on my band. And by all accounts, she seems to be perfectly fine with me. So that's cool. She was, in fact, the person that my mentor's mother got in contact with to get in contact with me. And that's how I ended up reconnecting, or connecting, I should say, to my mentor's mother. But so yeah, I mean, there's no problems, but yeah, man. That's how that fucking shit. And in case you're wondering about January, she's successful mother, and she's doing great, and she's also cool. I haven't seen her in forever, but whatever. That's a story from every year of school that I went to. So I hope you had fun. Let me know again your experiences throughout all throughout your years in school. Who knows? Maybe if there's enough of them, I can do a video reacting to those. That would be cool. But anyway, that's it, fellas and gals. I'm out.